In the 1990s, the destructive guerrilla wars in Central America came to an end. In exchange for a chance to participate in the democratic process, thousands of combatants agreed to lay down their arms. But the progress made elsewhere in Latin America in the 90s has left Colombia behind, largely for one reason: the explosive growth in the drug trade. Over the past decade, government forces in Peru and Bolivia, once the largest producers of cocaine, have had some success in disrupting the local drug trade. As a result, the major source of supply has shifted to Colombia. 10 years ago, about 30,000 acres of Colombian territory were dedicated to coca production. Today, coca growing areas total more than 250,000 acres. As the coca and poppy plantations have spread, so has the corrupting influence of drug money.
The export of drugs accounts for about a third of Colombia's total exports. Now, there is no way that a business of that order of magnitude can exist and prosper without key people inside business, banking, commerce, and government, including the military. And what this means is that a huge number of key Colombians have a vested interest in the status quo.
Robert White, a former U.S. ambassador to El Salvador, is president of the Center for International Policy in Washington.
In Colombia, they have a saying, plata o plomo, silver or lead. Take the bribe or we'll shoot you. And I have to tell you that in a violent, war-torn society that doesn't know from one year to the next whether it's going to be in existence, there are very few people, high or low, that can resist that choice.
In addition to official corruption, efforts to fight the drug trade have been hampered by the Colombian government's losing battle against the country's guerrilla armies. Colombia's two largest guerrilla groups are the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, or FARC, and the National Liberation Army, or ELN. The two groups combined form a force of 20,000 soldiers. These well-armed rebels, along with about 5,000 right-wing paramilitaries, have made large areas of the country too dangerous for counter-drug operations. In an effort to enhance peace talks with the rebels, in 1998, Colombian President Andrés Pastrana withdrew the national police and the armed forces from almost half of Colombia's territory. As a result, FARC and ELN guerrillas now occupy a number of demilitarized zones. And it is in these regions that the vast majority of Colombia's cocaine and heroin are produced. According to Major Andy Messing, director of the National Defense Council Foundation, the guerrillas have become Colombia's new drug kingpins.
But the fact is, about 1990, when there was a decision to go after the cartels, and the cartels were eliminated by 93 or 94, the guerrillas wound up jumping into the void and assuming the drug trade and making their own cartels.
The guerrillas collect taxes from drug growers and producers in exchange for protecting their plantations, processing laboratories, and shipments. The U.S. government estimates that the guerrillas receive more than $500 million per year from the narcotics trade, earning them the moniker narco-guerrillas. The income helps the guerrillas buy weapons, supplies, and manpower equal or superior to those of Colombian government forces. While drug money has strengthened the guerrillas, it has also corrupted their cause and cooled their desire to negotiate with the government.
The guerrillas have two advantages right now. They're winning on the battlefield, and they have an incredible amount of money that they're making through the drug trade. And so they're doing things to their timetable, their way. And like a commandante I once met said to me, who was involved in the drug trade, he held up his gold credit card and he said to me, when I got this gold credit card, my ideology went out the window.
The guerrillas are not alone in profiting from Colombia's chaos. A number of paramilitary groups work directly for major drug traffickers. Elements of the Colombian armed forces have also been implicated in the drug trade.
8 months ago, an Air Force plane, Colombian Air Force plane, the head of the Air Transport Command's plane landed in Miami. DEA agents tore it apart and found over a half ton of cocaine. That plane had been its entire life on military bases. The idea that there are black hats and white hats in this country is simply an illusion.
The booming drug trade, the strength of the guerrillas, and an almost total lack of public confidence in Colombia's institutions have combined to threaten the country's very existence.
The situation in Colombia is desperate. It's more desperate now than it's ever been.
The threat does not stop at Colombia's borders. One matter of international concern is a potential environmental disaster in an area known as the lungs of the world. Chemical solvents used in cocaine processing are contaminating the headwaters of the Amazon River, and the drug trade is eating away at Colombia's rainforests.
Well, worldwide, there's been particular ecological damage done to our planet by drug dealers. They cut down tens of thousands of acres of jungle, virgin triple canopy jungle. And this goes on day after day, and we're seeing acres and acres eroded day after day to make way for coca bushes and poppy plants.
Apart from the ecological threat, the increasing production of cocaine and heroin represent a very real threat to public health and security in the United States.
Every ton of cocaine comes into the United States, it's $1 billion in damage to our economy and to our citizens. 1 ton, 1 billion.
With more than 200 tons per year entering the United States, the cocaine trade's economic, social, and human costs to American communities are staggering.
Right now, we're having more supply than demand. I mean, they're trying to create additional marketplaces. That's why this is why it's a national security issue for the United States. They're sending in more drugs than drug users, current drug users need right now.
The looming threat of cheap, dangerous drugs flooding America's cities is especially frightening due to the apparent powerlessness of either the Colombian or American governments to stop it. Without assistance from the United States and other allies, Colombia could succumb to the violent criminal enterprise.
We cannot afford to allow Colombia to fall into a country of disrepair. It's too big of a country, it's too important of a country. It is one of the most important countries in Latin America, and certainly no America can afford to see it be lost.